Are you ready to perform at your highest potential? Welcome to the Performance Matters podcast from GP Strategies, your talent transformation partner. In each episode, we'll interview industry experts and explore best practices and innovative insights to help your organization improve performance. Hello and welcome to the Performance Matters podcast sponsored by GP Strategies, the world's leading talent transformation organization. I'm your host, Michael Teal. I've been doing this now for a couple of years, being the host of the Performance Matters podcast. One of the coolest things is just really shining the spotlight on the amazing thought leadership that we have at GP Strategies in all kinds of amazing endeavors and fields. Today, we're talking about something I think that most of us are going to be very interested in, and that is building high performance project teams using a six thinking hats approach. This really caught my interest when I saw this come up on the calendar because I thought, I'm thinking like 25 years I've been in learning development, and I am always in a project team that seems to shapeshift. There's always something different, new people coming in. And I said, okay, I can't wait to learn more about this. So we brought in some of our amazing change management practitioners to talk about this. So I'm so pleased to have here in the virtual studio Julyan Lee, change management practice lead. Julyan, how are you, sir?
I am well, Michael, and I am very, very excited about this episode. I'm looking forward to diving right in.
Oh, I love it. And you have a partner in crime here today. I believe at least 3 or 4 time friend of the show, Ellen Kumar, solution architect for user adoption. Ellen, how are you today? Welcome.
I am also doing great. Julian and I love banter without a lot of formality, and I'm here for the show.
Let's do this. I can't wait to learn about the six thinking hat approach. So I'm honored to have you both in here. So let's just start this thing off. I think all of us can agree that building high performance project teams, that sounds like something everyone, whether you're Democrat or Republican, we all can agree that's an important thing here. So let's level set what this is here, Julian. So can you just break this down to me? Because I'm dying to know. What is the six thinking hats approach?
I want to echo, first of all, what you said about project team effectiveness. And no matter what type projects you've been on, there's some phases or some pockets or some elements that just don't go well. So we are introducing something that we think will get people excited about. One, escalating the abilities for people to work together in a cohesive fashion. And then secondly, allowing people to think and behave differently to deliver a solution that's going to revolutionize the company. A new project is going to bring so much to the table. Yet, a lot of times, the people that's working on these project teams have no formal training on how to be a project team. The Six Thinking Hat was created by Edward de Bono, and I've been certified since 1992. So that's a long time ago. There's a lot of value in this process or system or technique, if you want to call it that, that allows you to be able to put on and take off a hat to reference a different mode of thinking that needs to occur. So if we're on a project team and we're gathering requirements and we can't get on the same page, I should be able to step away from my biases and say, okay, let me look at it from your perspective. And vice versa. You look at it from our perspective. So that's what the six hats does. Each one of the hats represents a different mode of thinking, which allows you to do creativity, creative thinking, risk analysis, benefit analysis, looking for facts, data, and information, decision making under the blue hat, and then finally, under the red hat, how do you feel about this? Each hat represents that different mode of thinking, which allows you to put on and take off a hat to be more effective in your thinking. And it allows for emotions to be a part of the process. In a lot of cases, that may not even be suggested or warranted, but sometimes emotions will get in the way of people being able to function on teams.
Ellen, I'll just say this. Have you seen this in motion before, the six thinking hats approach?
I have not been a participant in a workshop, but I'm dying to be because I've touted the benefits of it. I've helped Julian prepare and then I've debriefed with them afterwards, but I've never been a fly on the wall in a room or even a formal participant. To me, it's like the ultimate useful role play. It's role play, but it's real. It's not hypothetical in any sense. And it's very practical and it's very engaging. I almost think there's probably no one that couldn't benefit from it.
From a project team perspective, again, and you may hear me say it again, we bring these people together and we're spending lots of money to have this team function as a team. And they're expected to deliver something that you're spending a lot of money on to deliver on time, on budget, high quality, and no one cares or thinks about how does this team function as a team and what should be most important to this group. One, you should be able to see things from all perspectives. You can't go in biased, but so many project teams are limited in their ability to see things from different perspectives other than what they bring to the table. And that's why the six thinking has is such a powerful, I like to use the word powerful. It's a very powerful tool in helping people to see things differently, think differently, behave differently, and look at other people's perspectives.
So let's break this down. I want to get into the six thinking hats again, if you're good diving into those a little bit. But if I'm understanding you correctly, I'm hearing what you're advocating for is more you've got a big project. Obviously, somebody has greenlighted a significant investment in something to achieve something. We keep this as most generic as possible. Is the advocation that you would get a high stakes team together and run them through this process before they even dive into getting into the weeds? Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
By definition, the most practical and beneficial way of doing this would be just as you described. Partly because everyone is coming to the table from different perspectives, right? Train everyone on how to use the technique and then hold everyone accountable to use the technique throughout the project lifecycle. Let's say Ellen and I can't get on the same page, and this turns into a he said, she said. Someone could step back, Michael. You could step back and say, "Hey, Julian, have you put your yellow hat on? Are you looking at the benefits?" Ellen's thinking about something will work, and I'm going, "That won't work. We've done it this way for years." And then you can say, "Hey, Julian, could you put your yellow hat on?" And what that does, I know exactly what that references, and that allows me to not give up my stance, but allows me to shift and partner with Ellen now to think about what might be the benefits. It's called parallel thinking. You do away with this concept, right? Conflict to parallel thinking, both looking at why it might work, both looking at why it might not work. And then you come to a solution. That's again the uniqueness and the powerfulness of this tool is that not only can you or you expected to hold yourself accountable to think and behave differently, you can ask other people in a very non-threatening manner to shift modes of thinking and see things from different perspectives.
Okay, so we kind of went into this fast and furious. Can you break this down again for me? Are you okay saying what those six hats are? Because I want to actually write these down.
Okay. The blue hat. The blue hat represents the managing the thinking process. The blue hat sets the agenda for meetings. The blue hat calls for decisions at the end of a discussion. So if you're in a requirements gathering session, the blue hat calls for a decision to be made and next steps to be identified. Then you have the red hat. The red hat is gut feel, intuitions, and just basic feelings. A lot of times people are inhibited from making good decisions or participating because no one has even requested how they feel about a particular scenario. And there's some nuance to using these hats. So the only nuance for the red hat is that if you're having a discussion in a meeting, you limit that to a short period of time. Just let people say what's on their mind, get it out of the way so they can be more productive in their thinking down the road.
It's like I put it on the table and move on.
Wow, you asked me how I felt. Now I told you,
Clear the deck, right?
ready to go. Yeah, great point. And then there's the white hat, information, facts, data. When I'm asking people to wear a white hat, that's all I'm looking for. And that's the other nuance about the hats. The facilitator, the blue hat wearer, has to manage the thoughts and the thinking and the dialogue. So if I'm doing white hat thinking and someone chimes in with something that's not relevant to white hat, I'll say, hey, that's a great black hat thought, but we're doing white hat thinking. When people are forced to or feel like there's more structure in their thinking, they come to the table with the right kind of thinking, and you help keep that thought process in place as a facilitator. That means your meetings can run a lot more effective. They're a lot less time consuming, and you get more out of them because the structured thinking process, people really adhere to it and can be more successful with it. So that's the white hat. Then you have the green hat. The green hat is your creativity and innovation hat. So when we're conducting a green hat session, every idea that comes out goes on the board. So there's no one saying, well, that won't work. We did that or questioning it. No, you want to let creativity flow. So everybody understands under the green hat, I can say whatever I want to say. We'll evaluate the feasibility using the hats. But right now, I just need all the creative juices flowing and all the ideas on the board because an idea might not work in its current format or the way it was currently documented. But if you go back and take it away and like, oh yeah, we can do that with this twist. So that's the green hat. And then we have the yellow hat, benefits feasibility, why something will work. Great hat to offset black hat thinking. Black hat thinking is why something will not work. But the key to the black hat, I'm going on a limb, it's probably the most pivotal hat in the thinking process because it keeps you legal. And I tell my teenager, if every time you get ready to do something, what could go wrong? Wearing your black hat. That's what you do. What could go wrong? Not that you're projecting, what could potentially go wrong with the action I'm about to take? You're doing black hat thinking at that point. Now, where it gets in the way of project teams and technology implementations, people may come with the black hat of this won't work, don't want it to work, it will never work, roadblock, right? But under all the hats, you're supposed to give an explanation of why you're making a statement, except for the green hat. Green hat and the red hat, no explanation required. But under the yellow and black, if you say something's a benefit, you have to say why it's a benefit. Or if you say something won't work, you have to say why it won't work. One other little nuance that I really, really love, if people come to the table and they know the concept that we're using and they say, well, this won't work because I'll say, okay, Michael, we're doing black hat thinking. I need all the reasons this won't work. And you just give me a laundry list. Okay, Michael, guess what? We're going to do a green hat. Let's fix all the black hats. What have I done? I've got you fixing your own problem now.
Wow. This is awesome. What I'm hearing from you is, and again, I'm going back 25 years. I've seen some of these things sort of serendipitously happen, but not intentionally. And that's what I think I'm hearing from you with the six hats approach is there's a very structured process of saying, let's make what is the best out of project teams. Let's actually intentionally make that happen. And obviously, you need a facilitator, somebody that understands this dynamic and knows when to switch that up. And that's someone like you. Fair to say, Julian?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I want to brag on you here because I'm getting excited hearing this because there's so many times I'm like, oh my God. For example, being more of a creative type person, I tend to lean, I think, a little more on my gut and with the creativity and being too positive. And I think I would need someone like you to go, okay, that's really exciting. You're kind of down the trail here. Let's pull it back and put on a black hat. I think there's a real measured approach there that's fantastic.
It is. And then there's a time and place for all kinds of thinking. And that's the point as well.
That's great. So we've hinted on this idea that the six thinking hats approach really helps you get to what a project team should look and feel like from an effectiveness standpoint. Let's just do a little compare contrast on what effective teams look like versus ineffective teams. So I'd love for you both to kind of share your insights and perspectives on that.
I know that we've all observed teams that have, I'll call it analysis paralysis. That appears to me to be a extremely black-hatted approach where they can't switch away. They're caught up in the risks and the facts, so a little black, a little white. I also know that we often have project teams where the members are all coming from different places. They have functional knowledge, but they aren't emotionally mature, or some are very emotional and they lack the functional expertise. It's like they're all operating on different levels, and no one is able to look across the table and say, let's work on that together. They're just throwing out the gauntlet of why it won't work. I'm giving all the ineffective issues because I think we've observed these and we've been on teams where these things have happened. So that's the con or the let's fix it side that I think this intervention could really work well for.
Ellen just described what an ineffective team looks like. And it is so real and it is so prevalent. Again, I'm baffled by the fact that with all the monies being spent and things being taken into consideration, what you're trying to accomplish from a business strategy perspective, that some of these behaviors and tactics are accepted or are not addressed with some form of, okay, let's put a measure in place to make sure these don't hamper our ability to deliver the solution. And that's what the opposite side of the ineffectiveness is you start to promote collaboration, your productivity is higher, support and motivation for each other. Accountability. If I put together an agenda that has all six hats, or whichever hats that we're going to talk about, you're accountable to come to that meeting and speak to those things that are identified in that agenda. A lot of times people just go off on tangents, but some accountability to be a better team member, to think and behave more effectively in your teams, to see others' perspectives and sides of the coin in order to make things happen and build a solution. That's the primary focus of an effective team.
The word silos also comes to mind. When people are working, they're operating in their own silos and they can't, or they're afraid, or they don't want to break down those barriers and change their approach to be more effective as a team member. I've observed that.
Well, you both have really discussed the challenges of an ineffective team. What I'm seeing there is it's almost like you've got these free radical ions. There's a lot of energy, there's a lot of potential, but getting them to line up and work together, whether it's a subject matter expert or it's a presenter or a writer or whoever it is like getting everyone aligned and getting all those. And I don't have a chemistry degree, so but I'm just imagining these electrons floating around, and I can see these six hats starting to almost like a magnet pull them into alignment here. So my question to you, Julian, is who's been the typical target audience for this type of approach from your experience over the past 30 years?
Well, I've had departmental teams, sort of intact operational teams. And the latest nuance would be a project team where different people coming from different areas of the business and they need to act like a functioning team. And then I've had a group of leaders from all different parts of an organization to go through this training. So it has application across all types of areas where being more effective in your decision making, being more effective as a team, and being able to collaborate and truly see other people's perspectives and what they're bringing to the table can help with the understanding of how decisions need to be made, when they need to be made, and how we can collaborate to make those happen. So any team could fall into this category. Again, I repeat, one is an intact departmental team, operational team. The second one would be my latest one was a group of people that were all in the same role from different locations to learn the technique. And then there's your intact project teams that need this. And that's where we're pushing this because we're enterprise technology adoption space. We see, live, and breathe enterprise technology adoption. We see, live, and breathe why enterprise technology adoption sometimes doesn't happen as a result of the dynamics of teams coming together that don't know how to function as teams.
Yeah, this seems like an amazing service offering. I'm clearly excited about. There's no fake in my excitement here. So, one of the things that's really great with GP is there's usually some formalized methodology or approach to doing things. So, since you've been doing this for decades now, Julian, what's the process that GP takes when it comes to rolling out something like the six thinking hats with a team?
Well, Ellen and I can speak to that because we have a client that we've mentioned it to, and I'll say unfortunately, but the scenario is that they are experiencing a large majority of the things that an ineffective team.
I have too. Everything you're saying, I'm like, I've seen that before.
Right.
I've seen that movie.
It's not uncommon.
Yeah. So the way that we're promoting it now is to identify project risks. These are the things that put this implementation at risk and could cause it not to be successful. One is your leadership alignment. That's basic change management. Those are things that, from a change management perspective, you see and you address throughout your implementation. What you don't see a lot of cases, what we're promoting, what we're getting our future clients and others to understand that we have to address the project team effectiveness. And so we're putting together a proposal to help identify and shape his message so that person understands that, yeah, I think we need to go through this based on what I've seen with this project team, based on some of the dynamics that exist. We could benefit from this as a project team itself. Ellen, if you want to add anything else in terms of how we promote and go out and try to get people to see that.
Yeah. And I would also like to know, like, what's a typical duration for this type of workshop?
The basic premise can be delivered in a 1-day workshop, which could be on site, could be virtual, could be a hybrid of both. But people have to be engaged, and the multitasking will not help the process. So, kind of a dedicated day for six thinking hats. So, you do some discovery based leading up to that. But then the piece of it that GP adds at the end is that we find things during the workshop that we want to measure and return to afterwards. So there's an idea of you can go through this workshop, but we really want to measure sustainment. We want to see if you get it.
You hit on an interesting point there, Ellen. The one factor that makes it so relevant is the practical application.
Yeah.
And when we take people through the training, I put it like this. I saw some feedback on one of my most recent ones, and it says, it seems childish at times. Well, it's meant to be that way. It's meant to be very engaging, fun, because you're not going to just eliminate your whole thinking process that's gotten you where you are today in a 6 to 8 hour workshop. You got to practice things that are non-threatening, and then you can see how the process works. You can see it almost unfolding. Oh, God, now I see I have been stuck. Oh, now I know how to get unstuck. So you take them through a bunch of exercises, and it is fun, it's energetic, it's very experiential. So people get a lot out of it, but they have to put a lot into it. Is it I'm silly. So it could be silly and childish at times.
Well, I mean, there's that rule that when your brain is having fun, it's a
Yeah.
sponge, right? When you're stressed, it repels new information, it's in fight or flight. So I love this idea of you're breaking the mold, you're breaking the reality, you're challenging someone like me, like I said, who would normally be, I'm assuming, more in the red hat, green hat type area. And it's like, Teal, put on a black hat here and let's talk about why something might not work. My daughter just turned 16, just got her driver's car. She's driving my car. I'm going to encourage her to do a little black hat thinking there, Julian. I like that.
Yeah. What could potentially go wrong? And but when she does, ask her to wear her green hat so she learns to switch. So if this might happen, how do we make that not happen?
It's a great methodology. Let me ask you both this then. Let's assume someone has gone through the workshop process. Obviously, at GP, we're big proponents of sustainment. What would be some best practices associated with this, maybe at the conclusion of a workshop?
Okay, I'll start, Ellen. You can chime in as you see fit. One, I would ensure immediate application. So we've learned this technique. We can't go back to our old world and do old world thinking. So our first meeting will be a 6 thinking hats meeting. Here's the agenda. Here's the hats we're gonna wear, and here's the proposed output. Practice on simple things first, because what'll happen is you'll jump into a real tough, say, very emotional type scenario, and people have biases, and you're trying to implement a new thinking process, and they're chewing it up and spitting it out at the same time. So you start with the easy things where you can get collaboration, get the light to click on and say, wow, yeah, that does work.
Low hanging fruit.
Low hanging fruit, absolutely. And then the other thing, if you want to really take this to heart, have what I like to call hat champions. Have people that might go to different facilities and facilitate meetings and pull in the people that went through the training with you. And I'm thinking of a leadership team, not a project team so much, but project teams can do the same thing. Have these hat champions, let them be the ones to help promote the use of it. With any training or workshop, there needs to be some metric of how successful. So have post-training checkpoints, and then customize some challenges, kind of work through things that may be a little bit hypothetical, but people can relate to them because it's in their industry, or project teams that may be experiencing some form of issue, and just walk them through that. And lastly, we like to leave our clients with visual reminders for the conference rooms where the project team members meet. I know it's virtual world these days, but nonetheless, have hats all around the room. You guys have hats on today. You make it known and visible that this is the type of thinking that's going to make us effective as a team. So put those posters up, get your handouts, put those right next to your desk so you can refer to them every time. That's why this is so significant. I can say, Michael, we're doing green hat thinking. So whatever you're thinking right now, if it's not green hat, you're going to shift like that.
That is so exciting here. So, if I'm hearing you correctly, the idea is let's set up the mindset, and then later on in the day to day business, is the idea that you wouldn't literally be putting on the hat, right? Is that the kind of thing where you could have a call back and say, okay, Ellen, we're doing red hat thinking right now, and kind of looks like you might have a gray hat on.
You want it to become a language. You want it to become a part of your day-to-day thinking. So organically, you'll start to listen with different filters. The luxury is that if I said, well, Michael, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard in my life. I've created this.
Yes.
If I say, Michael, that's a great thought, but have you looked at it from this perspective? Now I'm doing this parallel thinking. I've done away with the conflict.
This is so good, this idea of perpendicular versus parallel. Oh my gosh, that's so good, Julian.
Think about project teams going through that. We got to deliver this major solution, and we can't get on the same page on whether it's a requirement or whether it's a nice to have.
Okay, so I'm assuming if you two have been around project teams like I have, there's a lot of great energy on something like this. I could see a team that has gone through a six hats thinking approach and they're fired up about it, and then slowly they start to backslide with day-to-day realities and things like that. So what would you do to help get a team back on track? What would be some suggestions?
Well, the first thing I would have to do is have some mechanism to know that that's happening. So if I'm in the room and I can see it happening, I can speak to it. And then there's the accountability piece that I would throw into the equation. But evidently, somebody paid money for us to train their project team to use a new technique that's going to make them more effective. Whoever that sponsor is needs to know that things are not going in the direction that it could be going should people start to use the hats. And I would then suggest that set up someone as a six hats person like myself. Let me come in and do a follow up and let me facilitate some of your meetings as opposed to having some parties that may have biases do that. So let's come in and let me maybe just analyze what's going on. You've walked away from the six thinking hats train. Let's say a project team takes it and we're not on the ground with them. And you and Ellen come in and do an observation. And then you could see whether the technique is taking or if they're using different hats. This process is only as good as the facilitation.
I can see that.
Very facilitator dependent.
Absolutely. And it's not meant to be limiting, it's meant to be focused. And if I know that I have a short period of time to do a focused amount of thinking, I'm going to give it my best thinking, period. And that's how this concept becomes more effective and very beneficial to project teams when they really get it and practice it. It's practice, like everything else, it's practice.
Absolutely. I can see that. So you two have been very generous with your time. I know that we fit this conversation in amidst a lot of different meetings here. Ellen, I'm just going to ask you this. If we have listeners that are like me, writing things down furiously and saying, I want to know more about this, what would be the logical step for them in terms of contacting us at GP?
Absolutely. Get in touch with me. You can reach me at ekumar@gpstrategies.com. And let's talk about the situation and how we could help get this thinking process in play for your team.
Yeah, this is very good. It's hard to say, but it's very exciting. The six thinking hats approach to building effective project teams. This is awesome. I thank you both for coming back on here. Please promise to come back on another visit.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael.
The Performance Matters podcast is brought to you by GP Strategies. Together, we can create a world where business excellence makes possibilities achievable. You can subscribe to the show anywhere you get podcasts or listen on our website at gpstrategies.com.